Hello and welcome to Attention Central Texas. I'm your host, Charles Jenkins, and in the studio with me we have Mr. Tucker Morrow, who's the Area Director for Tex Young Life. Hello and welcome to today's show.
Thanks.
Let's just start out with, tell us what is Young Life?
So Young Life is a non-denominational outreach ministry focused at the high school level. We are seeking to establish relationships with high school students, earn their trust, establish authentic friendships with them, and then share the gospel.
What is Mid-Tex?
Mid-Tex is the name of our Young Life area. So Mid-Tex covers the Temple and Belton school districts.
Okay. If someone's sitting watching us and wanting to know how do you get involved with Young Life, how do you?
Yeah, so we have several different ways to get involved. The first is our volunteer Young Life leaders. So we have roughly 40 volunteer Young Life leaders who give of their time and spend a lot of effort logging hours where high school kids are, getting to know high school kids, befriending them, walking alongside them through life. The way that you get involved with that would be contacting me, going through leader training. And we do a lot of work with volunteer leaders. We also have a Young Life committee,
Okay.
which is a group of adults in the community that focus almost as a board of directors that help with decision making, fundraising, all of those kind of things. The other two are, we have prayer partners, people who are praying for the ministry, who are walking alongside us and praying for us as we go and do ministry. And then finally, people who give financially and help to support the ministry of Mid-Tex Young Life.
And what's the ultimate goal of Young Life?
Ultimate goal of Young Life is to introduce adolescents to Jesus and help them to grow in their faith.
What's the difference between Young Life and, let's just say, a church group?
Yeah, so we get that question a lot. Young Life is not a church group. And the reason that we want to be clear about that is because our goal is to reach kids who are outside of the church.
Okay.
The kids that we're meeting and building relationships with are kids that are generally disinterested in the church, that aren't regular church attenders. We're not trying to take kids out of the church and put them into Young Life. We're trying to introduce kids to Jesus through Young Life and then plug them into a local church.
I know school gets out in the summer. Is there anything Young Life kind of do throughout the year to keep the momentum going? Yeah,
so during the summer, our leaders spend time hanging out with the high school kids that they have relationships with. But our big event in the summer is we have Young Life Camp every summer. Young Life owns about 18 different properties in the United States.
Wow.
Where we take kids. This summer from Mid-Tex Young Life, we'll be going to the mountains in Colorado to a camp called Frontier Ranch. That is kind of situated right on the side of a mountain in the town of Buena Vista, and we take kids there for a week of camp, and really I believe that it is one of the most clear proclamations of the gospel that kids will ever get to hear in a week-long setting. There's no distractions. They don't have their cell phones. They're there for a week with their friends and their Young Life leader.
What are some of the things the kids do while they're there?
So we have Young Life Club, which is something we do every week here. We have it every night at Young Life Camp. They get to hike a 13,000-foot mountain. There is a pool, there's volleyball courts. We have what we call ridge runners, which are big go-karts basically that get to run tracks in the mountains, mountain biking, just really anything you can think of that you would do outside with your friends, you can probably find at Frontier Ranch.
If you had to put your staple on the one thing that makes this camp unique, what would you say?
I think the uniqueness of Young Life Camp is that Young Life leaders know the campers before camp. They go to camp with their friends, and then they come back with them. And so when kids have an experience where maybe they are introduced to Jesus for the first time and they go back home, their Young Life leader goes back home with them and helps them to process through returning home and all of the problems that they left when they went to camp that they're walking back into. Their Young Life leader has been with them before camp, during camp, and then now after camp.
Is there a fee? Like, do they have to fundraise? What do they have to do to get the kids to go to camp?
Yeah, so our biggest fee is our charter bus. It costs us about $10,000 to bus all those kids from Temple, Belton area up to Buena Vista, Colorado. And then there's camp fees with, meals and lodging and all that. And so it costs each of our campers about $750.
Okay.
We do fundraising on the front end so that we can lower that cost to $650. But the bulk of that work is done with Young Life leaders. We've got bake sales that happen. Young Life leaders take their Young Life kids to do yard work at people's houses, really anything that they can do to earn money to send kids to Young Life camp.
And I see that one of the things you have coming up is a golf tournament. Tell us, just share the details, what time it is, when, do you need any more teams, or do you need more silent auction people, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so we have a golf tournament coming up April 13th
Okay.
over at Mill Creek Golf Club in Salado. This is our third year doing it at Mill Creek. It's a great golf course, great staff down there, so we love having it out there. We are in need of golfers and sponsors.
Okay.
We've got a big group, but we can always add more to both of those. So sponsors often take the form of local businesses in the area. We've got a lot of them that want to sponsor, realtors, bankers, all kinds of stuff that just want to get their name out there to a large group of people playing golf. There's also, we have need of golfers, people to play in the tournament. And all of that money goes directly to Tex Young Life to help us send students to Young Life Camp, to help us cut the costs for students. And so we'll have students that will be working that golf tournament. They'll be out there giving drinks and snacks to golfers, helping load golf clubs onto carts, all kinds of stuff, earning money towards sending them to Young Life Camp.
Gotcha. So what would you say your biggest need is for, I said need, but needs for Tex Young Life?
So our biggest needs are almost always people. One, we need people to pray for us. We are just continually convinced that the most important thing that we can do for high school students at Temple and Belton high schools is to pray for them, and we do that a lot. Often we have lots of people who pray for us as we walk into the high schools to get to know these students. So one is people to pray for the ministry. Secondly, we have need of people to finance the ministry of monthly donors. We have roughly 100 people who are monthly donors, and they give anywhere from $20 a month up to a couple $100 a month. And so really people participating in the ministry through financing it is really helpful, and any amount really makes a huge difference for us.
What would you do to the parent whose kids say they haven't really been involved with the Young Life in school, but you just sparked the interest in them in going to the camp? In this day and age, what would you do to put parents at ease about going to this camp with you guys? Yeah,
one, all of our leaders are background checked. We have a professional charter bus service, so they're safe getting up there and getting back. Young Life camps are really secure places. We have a full-time staff that works at Frontier Ranch year-round. We also have what we call assigned teams, which are built with Young Life staff from across the United States who go live at camp for a month in the summer.
Wow.
So that while I take my kids to camp, all I'm focused on is getting to spend time with them. I'm not worried about meals or program, or all of those things are taken care of. But those are all full-time Young Life staff people who are there to in roles including protecting kids, making sure that kids are taken care of, that they're where they're supposed to be, that they're not climbing a mountain that nobody knows where they're going, all those kind of things.
Tell us a little bit about, I know we talked about all the stuff that's going on with Young Life, but we didn't get to touch on you. Tell us, we know your name, Tucker Morrow. How long you been with Young Life?
Yeah, so I have recently crossed the threshold of where I've been doing Young Life in some capacity in my life longer than I haven't been doing Young Life. And so I started off as a 14-year-old as a Young Life kid in high school. I met a Young Life leader who came up to my high school and met me at my lunch table. And there was something just different about him. I didn't know what it was when I was that age, but he seemed interested in a relationship with me in a way that nobody else was. He You know, I know high school a lot of the time feels like friendships are built on what can you do for me. I'm going to be friends with you so that it makes me look good with these other people. And my Young Life leader, Doug, wasn't like that. He seemed to be interested in me. And so I met Doug, and I spent all my Monday nights going to Young Life. I went to Young Life camp in Colorado and really understood for the first time who Jesus was. And then when I graduated high school, I went to college and became a volunteer Young Life leader at Trinity University in San Antonio. I spent 4 years doing that at Alamo Heights High School. And then I graduated college and went on full-time Young Life staff, where we went to a little town north of San Antonio called Blanco for 4 years, my wife and I. So we were there for 4 years, and then felt like it was time for a move, and then we moved to the Temple Belton area in 2016.
So if someone wanted to get a hold of you, something you said that they sparked their interest, whether they wanted to volunteer or do something else, how would they get in contact with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is midtex.younglife.org.
Okay.
There's a contact sheet on there that'll send straight to my email inbox. They can, you know, any questions they have, any clarification that they need, you know, really any details, I'd be able to provide any of that.
And I know you have several fundraisers. Usually people have banquets too. Do you have any banquets coming up anytime soon?
We do, yeah. We have a banquet generally in mid to late October. We don't have a fixed date on that yet, but it'll be in October. And that is a great opportunity for people to get an in-depth look at the ministry, as well as us really kind of clearly laying out, these are what our needs are, specifically, this is the amount of money that we need to raise this year, and et cetera.
How has the community embraced you guys with Young Life?
And it's been really fantastic. We have transitioned a lot of our, you know, we were funded primarily through large kind of one-time gifts from individuals and grants, and realized that we really needed community support. We needed a lot of people giving a little bit to make Young Life continue to thrive, and that's really happened. We have increased our monthly donors by about 40 in the last year. So 40
awesome.
new people, coming on board and doing what they can do. It's people in the community who care about high school kids, who want to see kids in the high school have an experience with Jesus, whose hearts break for kids who are lonely and isolated, who have tough circumstances at home, who want to see a Young Life leader step into that kid's life and make a difference. And so people across this community have been just really amazing in the way that they've stepped up and supported us.
Well, that's our time for the day. Tucker, I want to take this time to say thank you for being on the show, and thanks for what you do.
Thanks, Charles. I appreciate it.
And thank you, our viewers, for tuning in to Attention Central Texas.